Welcome. I'm so glad you have tuned in with us. You are in for a treat. I am Dr. Alexia Ellis, and I am the executive pastor of New Beginnings Fellowship Church in Indianapolis, Indiana. I also proudly serve as one of the clergy consultants for the Lilly Endowment Clergy Renewal Program.
I am Dr. Philip K. James, and I serve as senior pastor of the historic Mount Zion Baptist Church in Indianapolis, Indiana, for the past 23 years. I too serve as a clergy consultant to the Lilly Endowment Clergy Renewal Program. And today we are just excited to have the Reverend Dr. Claude Alexander, who serves as the senior pastor of the Park Church in Charlotte, North Carolina for the past 31 years. He has been a recipient of the Lilly Endowment Clergy Renewal Grant. And we're excited to have him to talk with us about his experience and share any insights for clergy and their congregations, for clergy considering this awesome opportunity. Dr. Alexander, before we get into our dialogue today, will you greet our audience?
Well, it's a privilege to be with you, to share in what I believe is from God, of God, and brings glory to God. The opportunity for U.S. clergy to be able to take a sabbatical is a gift both to you and the congregation and the wider community that you seek to serve. So I'm delighted to be here with you.
Awesome.
Well, we're delighted to have you. Bishop, we are so excited to have you with us. Last year, we were honored to have you speak with Lilly Endowment's first cohort of African American pastors. You shared for 2 hours the biblical concept of rest. It was a powerful and insightful workshop. It was a new concept to many of the pastors. Now I want to ask you, how did you come to an understanding of biblical rest, and what led you to pursue a sabbatical?
Well, in 2011, in October, my younger brother, only brother, was diagnosed with squamous cell cancer of the tongue. It was supposed to be a 75% survivable cancer. And yet after his having had the surgery, gone through chemo, and 7 months from diagnosis, he was gone. That was a profound blow. And in the course of those 7 months, I was going back and forth to New York from Charlotte to help him. And I was like a shrinking dot with everything growing larger. And I discovered what the psalmist meant, "He maketh me to lie down." And so that served as the impetus for me to then look at the scriptures and realize that this is from God. This is of God. And it's not just for me, but it's also for the congregation.
And so as you talk about being made to rest, being made to lie down, what do you believe kept you from making the choice earlier to have a sabbatical rest? Because I believe pastors, we often don't know. So what kept you from?
Well, one, there were no examples. My pastors did not do it. No one that I was close to or respected did it. We weren't taught it in our seminaries.
Yes.
And so because of that, coupled with, I didn't believe earlier that the church could do without me, right?
Yeah.
And so when there's no example, when there's no teaching, and when you have a false understanding of how necessary you are, all that can keep you from doing what we're talking about.
So what considerations were necessary in pursuing the sabbatical?
Well, the first consideration was believing that I am worth it.
Okay.
believing that I am worth it. The second is really believing that the church belongs to God.
Yes.
That it's not my church.
Yeah.
It's the Lord's church.
Yeah.
The third thing is believing that whatever loss may happen by my being gone is less of a price than my life,
Right, right.
my health, and what I, as a healthy pastor, can bring to the congregation. Yeah.
So you end up taking your sabbatical. How long was your sabbatical, and what were the results of taking a sabbatical?
Well, so mine was 3 months. I think several things happened.
Okay.
One, I was able to, well, God was able to address the need for rest for me. God was also able to address the anger that I had and didn't know. God was able to give me an opportunity to reconnect and grow deeper with my wife and daughters. God was able to provide space for staff to step up in ways that they heretofore did not have the opportunity to do so. God was able to teach the congregation its own need for rest and Sabbath rhythm. And so it wasn't just for me, it was as much for the congregation in terms of God working upon them.
You know, as you're talking, and you came to the realization that you needed to pursue this sabbatical rest, yet you had to help the congregation come to that. What kind of obstacles did you face or have to overcome in terms of helping the congregation now to embrace you being away for to disengage from ministry?
Well, you know, oddly enough, the greatest obstacle was not them.
Okay.
The greatest obstacle was me.
Wow.
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 Right? So it starts out with me saying to the chair of our board, I think I need some time. And the chair of our board said, I know that. We were just wondering when you were going to say it. And so there's a recognition often that the congregation has a readiness that they have that's just waiting on us to come to that.
Yes.
So the biggest obstacle was me. Because when I was able to communicate the need, the people saw and understood the need. Now, that did not mean that there weren't any questions. You know, who's going to preach while you're gone? Who are we going to call? Right? Who's going to do a funeral? Right? All of these were questions, but those were secondary questions. Right? The main point was being able to say, this is needed.
Yes.
And a congregation who loves you, as you are able to speak to them, both out of, one, your need, and more importantly, the biblical mandate. And they realize that it's not just for you, but for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
That's good. I appreciate how you shared the idea that you had to come to the realization and that the congregation was waiting for you or the leadership waiting for you to realize that is wonderful. But some clergy do not have that kind dynamic. And they have not even provided vacation space for pastors.
Yes.
And they very much need to disengage. What would you say to those pastors and those congregations about the value that, say, your congregation had for you, and the love they had for you,
Right.
and why that's so important for pastors and congregational relationships?
Well, I think it all starts with how and what we teach,
Yes.
right? And leading the congregation into certain understandings. So let's start this way. Why does the omnipotent, eternal, inexhaustible God rest? Right? Well, it's not out of need, right? God rests because God chooses to rest. And God's choice of resting comes as an assertion of God's worth. That God was God before God did anything, and God is no less God when God does nothing.
Good.
And it's the same for us.
Yes.
And so being able to teach them for their sake, right? This is not just for the pastor. This is for them. There's a rhythm that God wants for you. And being able to see how my taking it or the pastor taking it can model that for them. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, you talked about the church. Now, tell us about the benefits for your family, because a lot of times the family, the wife, and the children of pastors take a back seat. So tell us about the benefits of the family for the sabbatical.
Well, the first thing is that for a church to give the pastor the opportunity to disengage is a profound value statement to the family. For the family to see the congregation saying, we believe you're worth this, that's a profound statement. And it is a needed one because the family can often believe that the church does not care about the humanity of the pastor. And for the congregation to say that speaks to their care for the humanity. That's number one. The second thing is that the family is able to engage, has some uninterrupted. When you think about 3 months of uninterrupted time with mom or dad, how profound is that?
Absolutely.
And then thirdly, my daughters said, we hadn't seen you smile like that or laugh like that, right? There's another way in which they experience you during that time.
Now that is so profound, and I believe that clergy and their families and the congregation can find great value in the words that you have shared. As you think about sabbatical rest, I recall in April you talked about David and what happened with David and Bathsheba. Can you share that?
So yeah, we're often hindered by this notion of, well, what will happen if you take a sabbatical? But the other issue is what happens if you don't?
Yes.
Right? And so in David's case, we think about his fall with Bathsheba without realizing the context of it. And so one is his wife scorns him because of his worship. Those to whom he seeks to be kind rebuff his kindness. Third, he has a desire to build a house for God, and God tells him no, right? And so he has all of these experiences that are blows without taking any time to disengage. And so during the time when kings are supposed to be fighting, he's at home. And it is then that he is on the rooftop. And often when we do not take rest, we are prone to either negatively disengage, or we are susceptible to choices that we would not normally make had we been restful. Yeah.
So rest helps us with equilibrium, balance, and making sure we do not cross boundaries that we ordinarily would not even think to cross.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
So after you came back from your sabbatical, did you feel more creative? Did you feel that you could hear God more? What was the results for you?
Sure. So I think the first thing that it did was it gave me space to really see what's important. Okay, so reprioritize, recalibrate. That's the first piece. And which was to realize that the best thing that I can offer the congregation is first a healthy me. The second thing is a healthy marriage. The third thing is a healthy family. And then whatever I'm able to offer in terms of preaching and programming and all of that. That was necessary. But then, yes, there are things that God is able to show you when you're still, right? In terms of efficiencies, innovation, those things came with it now. And I had to be careful not to seek to download everything upon them, right, at once. Because while I had the time for all of that, they had not.
Right.
Yeah.
You talked about worth and value of how a pastor sees himself. I think that is crucial to even beginning to think about the sabbatical rest and the need for it, and to help to bring the congregation along. So in your closing remarks, can you just share again about the value and the worth of how a pastor sees themselves, and for that being necessary for the congregation to see as well and to appreciate?
Sure. Our ultimate worth and value is not in what we do.
Yes, good.
Yes.
It is in who we are. What we do comes out of who we are. And I think that is something that we have to constantly tell ourselves, because we were brought up seeing our value in what we do.
Yes.
Our value is in who we are, and believing that who we are is worth rest. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Alexander, thank you so much for taking your time out to come and talk and share with us. We thank you for your wisdom. We so appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
If you would like to learn more about the Lilly Endowment Clergy Renewal Program, please go to lilyclergyrenewal.org. God bless you.